This episode of Legendary is brought to you by Shutterstock.com. For 25% off your new account, head on over to Shutterstock.com and use the offer code GameBreaker10. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Legendary episode 149. I'm back. I'm no longer sick. My name is Mike Shavnitz. Coming up tonight, has an unannounced feature been accidentally caught on camera? Also, what's happened to all the tanks? And as well as we heard Blizzard does not like tiebreakers, all that and more. But first, joining us from WoW Insider, Zam.com, as well as right here on GameBreaker TV, back in her seat in the library, so she's got to be real quiet. Nothing above a whisper. No more yelling. Mrs. Olivia D. Grace. I don't know if we can hear you over the drumming.
Shav. I don't know if I'm on the video. All I've got is a legendary plate.
Oh, I'm gonna have to try and fix that.
That's all we have. You've broken it.
It likes to be broke. And while I fix that, everyone please welcome back on the beer host of Convert to Raid, Pat Grain.
Oh, hello. Hi, everybody. Hi, Mike. How are you? You're feeling better? That's good. Liv's back in her place. That's good. It seems like everything's kind of fallen back into a normal thing.
Time.
And things are,
everything's
things
just
are
like
broken for us, and so that's nice as well.
That's just how it goes.
That's just what happens when I come back in the chair. I touch things.
Mike Shavnitz in the chair. The entire show's broken. It's just
how it happens. That's how it happens. All right. Let's jump into some World of Warcraft news. But first, let me pull this up real quick. We have an awesome giveaway to tell you guys about. And unfortunately, I did not have it brought up. And I stink at finding it real fast on our website. But we have a contest going on right now at GameBreaker TV. For those of you guys who maybe can't attend BlizzCon, we are actually doing a contest for BlizzCon in a box. You have a chance to win a virtual ticket as well as a whole bunch of other awesome goodies like some boomsticks, some lanyards, some papercraft stuff, some really cool stuff directly from Blizzard. And all you guys have to do is head on over to GameBreaker.tv. I wish I could show you the URL, but as I said, I don't have it pulled up. But all you got to do is like GameBreaker TV's Facebook page, as well as a couple of our other Facebook pages, and tweet out occasionally to be entered for a chance to win. So it's really super easy for a free virtual ticket that you can throw a BlizzCon party from your very own house. So I highly recommend that you guys go check that out and take advantage of it while you can, because that is fast. And
if you haven't seen BlizzCon via the virtual ticket before, it's actually quite lovely. You can watch all the different little things going on the stages and kind of the behind the scenes as well. So it's very, very worth it, I think. It's a
pretty cool thing. Like you get a bunch of stuff with it as well, like the lanyards and the dice bags, and like those aren't easy to get hold of outside of BlizzCon.
No.
It's pretty good.
It's a great opportunity. And actually, I can show you guys right here. I actually have it up. You just go to GameBreaker.tv, scroll down just a little bit, and right here on the right-hand side, enter to win. Click that. It'll take you over to the main page where you guys can just scroll to the bottom. All you have to do is, like I said, like some of our pages and tweet occasionally, and you'll be entered for a chance to win. So be sure to go check that out. BlizzCon in a Box. It's a really awesome giveaway that Blizzard is allowing us to do. So be sure to go check that out. Let's get into some game topics. First up this week, there was a video that actually came out, and it's kind of doing its round. It's got a lot of people talking here. It could be a bug, but it also could be a new feature that maybe, slipped onto live servers and became accessible a little bit. Maybe.
Why are we talking so high? Why are we talking like this?
Maybe Blizzard didn't need for it to happen.
Oh, hey, everybody.
So
is it just funny voices week on Legendary?
It is. That's all it is. That's pretty much.
All
I come
right.
back. I'm really trying to disguise the fact that I was sick. So really, my voice is up here, and I'm trying really hard to bring it back down here. So sometimes it slips back up.
You're back on the helium, I see.
I'm back on the helium. I'm back on the
All those
helium.
big boy beers.
So as far as we know here, it was actually possible to go straight from a completed max level dungeon into certain instances and be scaled down to an item level that was relevant to the instance. We've talked about the tech being there before, and it looks like we might be finally getting it. So for example, in the video, there was a Death Knight that actually got scaled down to level 43 for Skullomance. And the big thing here is it wasn't just his gear. They didn't just hit his gear here. They actually affected his character attributes, because when you strip down to be a naked level 90, that's about 150,000 health. But this DK went down as low as 5,600. So a massive difference here, and a really kind of exciting feature. What is your guys' reaction to this video that has happened? Is this a hoax? Is this a private server? Or could this be a future feature?
It's not a private server. I'll let you know that, because I was actually able to replicate this on Monday. So on Monday, a friend of mine and myself, we went and we did the Halloween, dungeon run. We just a quick little thing. And what ended up happening was I ported out first, went into Stockades, which is a very low level dungeon. And then he ported out of the Halloween dungeon and then ported into Stockades. And guess what? He was a bear tank with 3,000 health.
Wow.
At level 90. And all of his items were eye level 17. So he was an eye level 17, level 90, bear tank with 3,000 health.
That's crazy. So it's definitely not private servers then. Definitely not a hoax. I spent all day today trying to replicate this. I tried on EU servers, I tried on US servers, I tried different instances, I bothered people. We tried with me as the party leader, with them as the party leader. We tried leaving the instance group. We tried teleporting out. We tried teleporting straight to the dungeon. We tried literally everything and just had no joy at all. So
well, and to be fair, I tried that again today as well, and it didn't work for me either. So my guess is that they just had a hotfix that went out, I think, yesterday, and I think that hotfix has taken it out of the game, unfortunately. So it's looking like it's no longer available.
That's such a shame. I was excited to try it.
I know. It's really cool. It's really cool.
Maybe we will get to try it. Maybe this isn't a mistake. Maybe this is something they're planning, because Tom Chilton and Corey Stockton actually mentioned that this tech was something that they were talking about at Gamescom. So there's always the chance that it's...
We heard a lot about this right around the beginning of September, I think. And I think that there was some stuff from the PTR as well, if I recall correctly, where there was actually something in the PTR where it looked like that might be a possibility of a feature. So we could still see this happen quite a bit. And Liv, you were at Gamescom. I don't know exactly what did they say about the feature or about
they specifically said that the tech was complete. So the tech was all ready to go for the dungeon level scaling. So they were basically saying, this is all done. We've got it all ready. The only thing we don't know yet is what we're going to do about the rewards. So we don't know what we're going to give people in return for doing these instances. So that was literally the only thing, according to them at the time, that was a problem for them. So it does sound like this is the thing that made me first think, okay, this probably isn't a hoax, is that they had actually said in the past, yes, this is ready to go. So I think it's quite encouraging. I'm excited. I'm really excited because I really want this to be a feature. I really, really want to be able to do this. So yeah, if it's just the rewards, then maybe they manage to sort those out. Maybe they're going to put it in soon, TM.
Right. The cool thing about when I did this on Monday was that when I went over to Stockades, I was still level 90. I had all of my health. My gear wasn't scaled or anything like that. So I was full geared, full health. Everything was fine. And then when my friend came over, he lost all of his health. I mean, like, the majority of his health was gone. And
Wow.
like I think he may have even lost spells along.
Oh, I was going to say,
that.
did he lose his abilities? 'Cause that was what I was thinking. Because, like, you know, is it in Guild Wars? Didn't they scale you down and then leave your abilities? So you still had everything, like all of the abilities that you had. You just had everything else, like your effectiveness decreased, but you still had all your skills or your spells. I might be wrong about that.
I think that I think that some of his spells were missing. I'm not 100% on that. I'd have to double check. But it's kind of cool, and so I think that it was very strange. And then what I tried to do is I tried to leave the group, and then I rejoined the group, and then I ported into the instance, and I was at, like, you know, as a resto druid, I was at I think it was under 2,000 health for that dungeon. But then I was booted out, like, immediately.
Right.
So
okay.
It was like I wasn't a part of his group for some reason. So there's definitely some bugginess there, but
yeah.
I don't think that this feature was ever intended to be in the game in the first place. And now that everybody's kind of done the rounds on it, they finally said, "Oh, screw off, guys! We're done with this now. All right,
we're so over you playing with this feature." Yeah, because actually, what I was finding when I was teleporting into these dungeons was exactly that. Because what I was doing was teleporting, like, you get when you right-click the green eye on your minimap, you get the drop-down menu, and a new thing came up saying teleport to dungeon when my friend was inside the low-level dungeon. And I was just clicking that. So I was going straight from the Horseman dungeon to the next dungeon, to Stockades, and to Ragefire Chasm was on the Horde side. So we basically were, you know, going straight in there. And I was, even though I was scaled, not scaled down, I was in a completely my own stockades. I wasn't in the same stockades as my friend. And then I went out and back in again, and then there they were. And then I was immediately booted from their stockades. So even if they fix the scaling thing, it's still some kind of, you know, something weird is going on still with the dungeon system. There's still something amok there. I'm not entirely sure what. I mean, I don't think it's a problem.
No.
But I definitely think that this is a new feature. I think they figured out the rewards. I think they're going to be bringing this out soon, TM, and then it's going to be awesome. I'm so excited for this. Like, I saw the video and I was like, can I look at this for WoW Insider? And WoW Insider were like, yeah, go for it. And I was like, I'm so hesitant to get too excited about this because I'm so excited about the possibility of this being a feature that I'm just gonna be like, yes, it's totally coming. It'll be here in 541, and everyone will be like, oh, shut up, Olivia.
Well, and when they talked about, you know, the whole flex rate thing, when they talked about item scaling, just kind of in general, and way back, like a year ago or whatever the hell it was. You know, that was one of the things that got me going. I'm like, if they can do that for old dungeons, and more importantly, I think from my perspective, old raids.
Oh yeah.
How awesome would that be, right?
Oh yeah, totally. Like, particularly for old raids, I can really, like, I mean, I didn't really start raiding until Wrath, and even then late Wrath. So I can totally imagine going through like all the old stuff and actually doing it at level. And I mean, then, like, the question comes up of what happens with the achievements? You know, like the Herald of the Titans achievement. You know, should you be able to get that with the downscale gear? Is there? Yeah, I predicted that response.
That's the answer. That's the answer to that one. No.
Nope.
So what do you guys think here is
gear? Come on.
Well, I mean,
feature?
If it's sorry.
A feature like this really sounds like BlizzCon-worthy hype material.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, look, we're announcing a new expansion, and this is coming in it, much like the pet battle things was. It sounds like it's that big of a kind of tech push that it would have been a very big reveal for them at BlizzCon. What does this do let's pretend like this is a reality. It's been in the real game. We know the tech's there. Let's pretend like this is something that they plan to announce at BlizzCon. Does this take away from the announcement at all?
Do I need this? Do I need this?
You have upgraded your tinfoil hat, Pat Crane.
I know, it's a beanie. It's awesome. And here, I'll even put it on. I don't care.
That's fantastic. No, see, okay, I feel like I need a tinfoil hat for this, and I don't know where mine is right now. So you're just going to have to... What have I got that I can put on my head? I've got a duster.
There we go.
I've got a duster. Pretend this is tinfoil, okay? So I have a theory about this, which could be complete and utter nonsense. Hence the tinfoil. It's totally tinfoil hat. Being that I reckon, you remember how in Cataclysm, one of the things they brought in right at the end of the expansion when we were in that sort of Dragon Soul phase was the transmog. So transmogrification came in and everyone was like, oh, hey, we can go and run old instances and it's going to be fun. We're going to get gear and it's going to look awesome. I think they're going to do this as a 5.5. Yeah. So let me just sort of try and back myself up a little bit here. So when I was in, I managed to get like a couple of interviews with Tom Chilton and Corey Stockton, who's the game director and the lead content designer for World of Warcraft at Gamescom. They were both very insistent that there was a 5.5 at that time. They then, were talking about how this feature was completed. Remember Ghostcrawler's big announcement? The big announcement that he was then, wind this back in, hedging, backtracking. He was saying it was a feature that was unannounced and that would make some people be like, oh my God, yes! And some people would just be like, whatever. This is exactly that.
Hold on.
You don't think that's flex? You don't think that was flex?
No, because look at what has happened with flex. How could that be a feature that some people would be like, oh my God, yes, and some people would be like, whatever. It's had a huge impact on the game. It's as big as LFR. It's too big to be a feature that some people would just be.
Uh-oh. Did we lose her? We might have lost her.
Everybody stand still.
Everybody be very, very still. I will remove my hat. It might be interfering with the internets.
Yeah. So Pat, let's you and I discuss this here just real quick while we try and wait for Liv to snap back in.
Sure.
What do you think? Based on what Olivia just had to say, do you think that it's more of a 5.5 feature than a BlizzCon thing?
I really do. I think that this, if they're going to release it, this is perfect for like a 5.5 type of deal, some kind of post Siege of Orgrimmar, where they know that they're gonna have 6 months to hang out and to figure out what they need to do. If they can open up all of the old content, all of it, for dungeons, for raids, for whatever, think about the possibilities when it comes to playtime, because that is going to be seriously awesome. And I see that.
Yeah, I'm fixing
I've been cut in half. But anyway, but it is one of those things where it's very interesting and very. I think it would be incredibly awesome to have a feature like this in the game for 5.5. It's the perfect way to kind of end this thing.
So Blizzard's been very open about wanting to shift their marketing strategy and try and target the players that they've already captivated but have maybe left the game. Based on what you said, it sounds like a good strategy to try and bring those players back in. But here's the question. Is it enough to hold us for X amount of months? I'm guessing summer, fall, before we see 6.0.
No,
I don't think it's going to be quite that long. I think, Mr. Pandaria beta was 6 months.
You're wrong, Mike. You are so wrong.
Yeah, so if the beta is 6 months, if the beta is 6 months...
If they announce beta at BlizzCon, even if the beta starts in January, February, March, April, May, June.
Right.
That's not autumn. That's summer. That's early summer to me.
And they can't release it before. They can't release it at June. I think they have to release it in May. So I think that we're going to see them really push to make sure that this beta is awesome. And they're going to really put a lot of resources behind it to make sure that they can make it quick. They're not going to wait a year, Mike. They are not going to do it at all. They cannot wait a year. Let me put it that way.
Chance. There's no way.
They are going to lose. If they waited a year to put this game out, they are going to lose a lot more than just the 5 million that they lost in the last couple of years, right?
Yeah, for sure. They have to do this. They have to do this quickly. It has to be within, I feel like it has to be I sort of think of the UK summer holidays. I don't know quite whether they're the same in the US, but our school summer holidays start around sort of mid to late June here. And I feel like that has to be when Blizzard are looking to this to come out. And even if, I feel like the beta should be starting for 6.0 really shortly after BlizzCon. And even then, so mid-November, that takes a month off it as well. So then, like Pat said, that's a May release with a 6-month beta.
Yeah, in the US, universities let out somewhere between May and June, or maybe a little bit later in June. But usually it's before mid-June is when all of the universities are out, and when all of the the teenage kids are out and stuff like that. So
I hope you guys make me eat my words. All I'm saying is I've heard. No. Just let me get this out. I've heard that exact argument for the past 3 expansions. So I'm speaking from record. We can be as hopeful as hell that it'll come out in May, but I think we might see it a little bit longer. I hope to hell it happens.
Yeah, me
but
too.
I've been trained to believe otherwise.
But let's think about some of their other resources that they may have been able to switch into World of Warcraft, right? So they had their Titan project, and that kind of fell apart, and they've since then they've scrapped it, and Blizzard has said, you know what, we're gonna start this over again. We're gonna release some of these people so that we can get them to work on maybe some other things within the different Blizzard lines, and they have a lot of stuff coming up. So that's not saying that they will definitely be a part of World of Warcraft, but that does kind of allow for the World of Warcraft team to maybe grow a little bit right now, so that they can get all of the resources that they need to make sure that this beta is fairly solid by the time that they release it, which I'm guessing will be, if they need 6 months, let's just put it that way, if they need 6 months, it will be the Tuesday after BlizzCon. Really, that's when they need to release this beta.
I don't know, and also they've said with this expansion that they've been trying to do the patch cycles way faster. And in complete fairness to them, I think they've been really successful in that. We've all sort of been going, oh, hang on a minute, this is coming a little bit too quickly. There's too much new content coming out. What's going on? And they've had this mission to increase the speed with which they're putting out content. And I personally think they've done really well with that. I think they've actually had a great success with that, this expansion. And, it's kind of hit a sort of slump now with Siege of Orgrimmar. And that there's already talk of the patch 5.4.1, although that brings no new content as far as we know. And I think there's going to be, I just have this really strong suspicion that this feature or something else is going to be popped in that gap. I don't know whether it's going to be a 6.0 feature. I just really want to do that. I just really want to do that. Scale dungeons.
I just really want to do.
Really maybe if we say it enough on Legendary, they'll be like, "Oh, that's a good idea. We'll do it."
Last on the topic before we move on is we've seen over the past couple expansions, we've seen revamp of old dungeons to allow for endgame play. Do you think this is A, a better solution, and B, the death of that concept? Are they going to go back and revamp any of the old dungeons like they did in the past? Because now they don't need to if the tech scales you down. Now you can just go play it whenever you want.
Well, if they revamp the dungeons, the thing that they're going to need to worry about is they're going to need to worry about the different abilities that people have, right? So they're going to have to take that stuff into account if they do any old dungeon revamps. Hopefully they won't touch actual, content mechanics, like game mechanics and stuff like that. They'll take into consideration new class mechanics from the players coming in, especially like the monk. The monk hasn't been around until just now, so really they've got some thinking to do about that stuff to figure out. And the classes have changed a lot. in the 8+ years that it's been around. So, I mean, they do have some class things that they need to think about from the players coming into these dungeons, but I really hope that they don't touch the memory of these dungeons and these raids, and leave them alone as a way to say, hey, here is our legacy, and here is what we're leaving our players, and please enjoy them at max level.
Yeah, I think they need to be as untouched as possible. So, Pat, question for you.
Yeah.
If this comes in, what's the first dungeon that you'll be like, I'm going to do this at the right level now?
The first, I don't know. I mean, that's always such a tough deal, right? I mean, you could say something like, I mean, since you're kind of a Wrath person as well, you could say ICC or Ulduar. Both are, I think, good options for a lot of people. I mean, that was kind of, the pinnacle of WoW, some might say. But you could go back to BC and maybe do some Black Temple, or I don't know. I think the possibilities are really there, and it just knowing that they're there. Next Ramus maybe at level, because because that was always just kind of a raffle stomp for me.
Yeah,
it's just like,
I think I'm the same. I think I'd really
it was always a raffle stomp for me. It's just
because I'm so like.
I didn't
say pimp.
That's well, no, I didn't start raiding until later in Wrath as well. So I mean, Next Ramus was under level for me when I was doing it. So I never actually got to do it at gear level. So that would be kind of interesting as well.
Yeah, I'd love to go back to like the really, really early raids, which I totally missed at level. Like, I mean, it was cool to go in there and look at this stuff.
All the BlackRock stuff.
Yeah, the BlackRock stuff, but also like Black Temple. I wasn't raiding then.
Yeah.
So I'd love to go in there and just be like, okay, this is what this was like with this gear stuff. And it would be kind of weird if they do it with all the level 90 abilities. That's going to be kind of weird. So you're never going to be able to have quite the same experience. And although you were saying that your friend thought he'd lost some of his abilities, I don't feel like they can take those away from people. I think that they're going to have to leave people with at least the majority of their level 90 abilities for this, and just scale them back numbers-wise.
Not to mention they've changed the way that some abilities work. Some abilities just innately tick for more or hit for harder, and you can scale them down, but they won't necessarily equate to the same amount that they used to.
Precisely, yeah. So it's never going to be quite the same experience as it was at the time, but it's far closer than I was ever able to get. And it's hard. It's really hard to find raids of people who are actually willing to do this content at level and with the gear restrictions and all that sort of thing. So it's tricky. But I'd love to go back and do the really, really old stuff.
Sure.
Subterranean Cavern, that sort of thing. That would be really cool.
And I know a bunch of teams that have gone back and said, you know what, hey, let's level new tunes and let's go to level 60 and do some of the vanilla raids at level and at gear. We've had a couple of different teams through the convert to raid side of things where we've actually done that, and it's been a pretty cool experiment from a lot of different angles. And there are some issues when it comes to vanilla raiding right now when you take a look back and you say, okay, well, let's just go with the classes that were available. But the classes have changed so much in the last however many years since that's been out, that it becomes just kind of a cakewalk. Those guys at level 60 are going through, and some of the fights only last for like a couple of minutes with the bosses.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, indeed.
If that, some of them are like 30 seconds.
And that's at gear and at level with the relevant gear. Yeah, exactly. I guess they've moved stuff around so much. Like, I remember when Avengers Shield was the thing that you got last.
Right.
As a prop paladin. It's like, oh my god, finally got Avengers Shield. And now you get it at level 5 or something.
I think it's 12 or something. Yeah, whatever.
It's low enough that it's sub 20 for battleground purposes.
Yeah.
It's quite overpowered in random battlegrounds. Anyhow, that's completely off topic.
Let's move on because we got some other stuff that we want to get to. But before we do, I want to tell you guys about a sponsor we have here that we use every single day. So a lot of you guys are probably aware that we are starting a Game Breaker Nation, where you guys can come and participate in awesome World of Warcraft events, as well as all other sorts of MMO-related games. We've got officers who create events. And if you head on over to GameBreakerNation.com, you can actually sign up. But if you guys notice there, up at the top, with that awesome, sexy logo, where do we get that dragon? Where do we come up with the icons for that? Well, we went over to Shutterstock.com and found a whole bunch of them, and we used their feature known as light boxes to kind of organize for many different groups. So Game Breaker Nation specifically here, if I go into this light box, I can show you all of the different images that we potentially found. A couple of these you saw on a poll that we actually tried to figure out which icon you guys wanted the most. And a lot of you guys kind of spoke up and specifically chose this dragon one right here in this little pack of 6 right here. So the light boxes, though, are really cool. Those are actually accessible to everyone. You don't have to be paying a subscriber. If you have a free account, you can get access to light boxes. And as you can see here, another, awesome show that we have here is Coltrane's Comments. And recently we did a Hearthstone episode. Here's some of the pictures. I know a lot of you guys are probably familiar with this woman right here from the cover photo of Coltrane's Comments. So we use Shutterstock for more than just icons. We use it integrated into our shows. Back when we were trying to create our YouTube channel, Super Mega Awesome Time, we had a whole bunch of different, potential icons and use, and we eventually went here. But the Lightbox feature is just a great system that anyone can have access to kind of organize the icons that you're looking for. And then when you're ready to go purchase, if you go purchase and use the offer code GameBreaker10, you'll get 25% off your new account. So be sure to use that offer code, but head on over to Shutterstock, sign up for a free account today, and start using those light boxes. And then use GameBreaker10. All right, next up, this week, Ghostcrawler has been on Twitter talking about tanks because apparently there aren't any. They're gone. They've disappeared. No one's rolling a tank
They've finally
anymore.
been removed from the game.
They've been removed IRL and in-game. He responded to a player who was complaining that a 45-minute DPS queue was just too much, saying that they'd seen a drop-off in tanks since LFR, since 5.4. He went on to add that it wasn't a gradual decline. It was a sudden thing, and that maybe Flex was to blame, or maybe that the queue system is bugged. So, Pat, you play DPS. You've
Sure.
been queuing up for LFR, I assume, in the past couple weeks. Have you suffered from long queue times?
I have not necessarily been queuing up for LFR as much as some people may think. I don't know if you know this, but I'm a part of a fairly large guild, and so we have a thing where we can kind of get together as a guild and go do LFR runs. So if we really want to go do LFR runs, that's a total possibility. But with Flex, it's amazing, right? Because Flex, I've been doing a lot more Flex than I have LFR.
So Pat, so maybe Mike is the person. Maybe we should bounce this back to Shafnet. He plays a DPS, and we know he's a casual.
Yeah.
The queue times. Here's the thing.
Come on, casual.
The queue times to me haven't been any more unbearable than they ever have been in the past.
So define how long have they been? Define unbearable. Like, how are they normally 45 minutes? Because I kind of thought they were for DPS.
A 45-minute queue, I've come to just kind of expect. You queue, right. you go start doing dailies, and you turn your brain off to the fact that you're in the queue, and you go find other work. That's just always been my mentality. Like, when I finally am ready to sit down and do LFR, it's queue up and forget that you did so, and just be happily surprised when it shows up. I'm one of those happy-go-lucky people that'll be, oh yay, all right, let's do this now. Like,
and
awesome.
Well, I've heard from people, and I don't know if it's an EU thing or a US thing. I'm not sure if there's one region over the other, but I have heard of people being in queue for over an hour, up to almost 2 hours, for different things. And I kind of wonder if people realize that they can queue up for like 3 different instances, right? And so you need to be queuing up for all of the instances that you possibly can. Seriously, if you're a DPS class, you need to be doing this. Number one. But yeah, I think the DPS classes should always expect a longer wait. I mean, there is just a longer wait. But I think that since Flex has come out, it's definitely gotten worse.
Yeah, and I think there's some people in chat room talking about 75-minute queues, talking about longer queues, and
Right.
like there have been I play mostly healers and tanks, and the DPS I do play, I don't PvE on them at all, so I'm really not a good person to be asking about this. I haven't experienced any lengthening in queue times at all, but what I have noticed is that like normally, particularly in earlier LFRs and particularly in Cataclysm, like it was always healers that were missing. Whereas now, like I'm hopping into the queue as a healer. Like some of the time you'd be like, oh, we need a tank, but most of the time it was like, oh, we need healers, we need healers. Healers needed for LFR. Like we've got some tanks, we've got some deeps, but no healers. And now it just seems to be constantly tanks, where we always seem to have a full complement of healers. And when tanks, sorry to like jump on you, Mike, when tanks drop queue, like drop group, excuse me. So, you're going along and either you've got a tank who is obviously like just wanted that one boss, or for whatever other reason leaves. It seems to take a really long time to get another tank. And it always seems to be tanks. Like healers come in like fairly quickly and then tanks take forever. But maybe that's just anecdotal because I'm a healer and I don't notice it or something.
Here's the thing that I want to say out there. I get a rap for being a very big elitist. I don't know why.
You're like the casual elitist, though. It's really cool.
But here's honestly what I gotta say. If you're queuing up for LFR as a DPS, you're queuing up for a free ride. You have no responsibility, no semblance of needing to know exactly what it is to do. Tanks, most of all, healers somewhat, have a lot of responsibility. And I am not surprised that tanks have ultimately just said, fuck it, I'll find a flex group.
No, for sure. But that's so true. Like, that's so true. Like, I have, like I say, tank and heal. I have a DK and I have a paladin, which I've tanked on. Like, the paladin was my first character. I've tanked on that forever. And the DK, really not very good at that. But it's just like, no, you are totally, the DPS, all you've got to do is hit some buttons. As long as you hit some, like, remember that video from Preach? As long as you hit some buttons and there's some DPS in there, you don't have to work together with anyone as a DPS. Try not to die to stupidity. And also hit buttons and do damage. Like there's no, like Preach did that video where he basically did nothing, and he was like nobody cared. He wasn't booted. He wasn't called out on it. And then you've still got high performing DPS, and thank God for those guys, because otherwise nothing would be dying. The enraged timers aren't exactly wide on these fights in a Siege of Orgrimmar. Healers, you've got a little bit more responsibility on you, and people will be like, oh, it's the healers, when they, like I was doing the last wing of Siege of Orgrimmar LFR today, and there was a warrior, DPS warrior, and this made me laugh. It's a good example of what I'm talking about, who was like, he died, like every single fight, and including trash balls, he died every single time. And because he was being stupid, like he was charging, like there's a groups which you have to CC because otherwise they'll just own you. And he's like charging into CC'd mobs. It's like, what are you doing?
That's awesome.
What are you doing? And then he's like, oh, I don't think the healers are any good in this group. And it's like, dude, no, it's you. You are your problem. So yeah, the healers, there's a bit more of a spotlight on you because guess what? There is 5 of you as opposed to 18 of you, or 6 of you as opposed to 17 of you, excuse me. Tanks, there's only 2 of you. And what you do as a tank is very, very visible. Like if you mess up, then there's mobs roaming around murdering the group. Or if you mess up, and also you've got to work.
You also have
with
to know how the
tank.
fight works.
You have to know how the fight works, but you've got to, not only that, you've got to work with a complete stranger who might not have ever tanked before. He might have just got the item level and he'd be like, right, this is my first day as a tank. I haven't done any heroics, I haven't done any proving grounds, but here I am, and here's Garrosh, and this is going to be brilliant. Like you just don't know what could happen. So then you've got to work closely. You've got to taunt swap. You've got to collaborate. You've got to, it's really hard work, and people will call you out, and they won't be sympathetic.
See, now this is the dark place that LFR can go from time to time. This is the dark place that it can go. And of course, if you want to talk about dark scenarios, I think that tanks really know about the dark scenarios that LFR can go. And I can't blame them at all for not wanting to be a part of it. If that is the case. If that is the case, I can't blame them for saying, you know what, instead of going with 24 random people that might, chew my ass off if I do one thing wrong, and I'd rather just go with my friends and have a good time. How can you blame them for that? How can you say that that's a wrong choice for tanks? And especially considering that every time that something has gone wrong, well, not every time, but most every time that something has gone wrong in a flex raid and people get outraged that I've seen in the past, no matter when it was, all through Cataclysm, all through Dragon Soul, it doesn't matter. One of the first people that the group glommed onto as being bad was the tank. Even if it was an honest mistake, even if you say, oh, you know what, that was an honest mistake, it's totally my fault, I apologize, and then before you know it, your butt's back in Orgrimmar, and you're just like, what the hell happened?
Yeah, for sure. And part of that as well is the kind of mob mentality. Like, you know who almost never gets blamed for LFR wipes? The largest group, the DPS, almost never blame themselves for LFR wipes. That's weird. No, that's not weird at all. That's not weird at all. They're going to blame one of the other groups. And the tanks are the smallest target. Like, they're the smallest group, so it's easier to blame them and have 17 people shout at 2 people than it is to blame yourselves. I think that I don't know what can Blizzard even do about this. I mean, Flex is a great response because they can just say, right, I'm just going to go with friends, sod LFR. But what can Blizzard do to remove that toxicity from LFR or to encourage tanks into LFR if Flex is the problem, which seems quite likely?
I think right now what it is that we're in a transition stage, right? So we're trying to figure out what LFR really is. And I think that it'll take some time to figure out exactly what it is and what it means to players. I know that there are lots of players out there that don't have the time to run normals, and maybe they don't have a large enough guild or a large enough server where they feel like they can do flex on a regular basis, or whatever. Maybe their timing is really sporadic and they don't even know when they can play WoW. But they still want to join in, and they still want to have fun. So I mean, LFR needs to be there at some point, but Flex answers a lot of LFR's. It responds to LFR's bad points, if you will. I mean, it really does kind of. It brings responsibility to players. It puts voices with the names. You communicate more. You have a tendency to get along a little bit easier. You have a tendency to clear more content a little bit quicker because you're talking to each other all of a sudden. So LFR really has answered a lot of what LFR's weaknesses have been.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's move on because there's also one more topic that we want to get to tonight, and we are starting to get close to our time. But I want to talk to you guys about some Linka files. But I need to put these back on because I can't read without them. So, all right. Now I can read. First up today, community manager Lore, who seemed to be the only blue who is on the US forums posting at the moment, posted an update to the new dampening arena system. He had this to say. He said, we agree that matches... All right, I gotta turn this down. We agree that matches where one team decides they can't win, usually because they've lost the player, and thus decides to play defensively and attempt to force a tie, don't really make for fun gameplay. In fact, one of our original goals for 5.4 with The Crowd Chose You was to eliminate that sort of behavior. We'd much prefer matches to end with a winner whenever possible through fair play. To that end, we'll be applying a hotfix that will add one small tiebreaker. After the hotfix, if a match should last for the full 20 minutes, the team with the most players left standing will be awarded the victory. If both teams have equal numbers of players alive, the match will still end in a draw as it does currently. We feel that this will continue to encourage players to try to defeat the other team while discouraging them from dragging the game out in hopes for a tie without any other major impact on the player behavior. We'll give you an update to the official hotfix blog when the hotfix goes live. So, basically, they're putting back half of the crowd shows you here, and half of where if you win, and you win if you kill someone on the other team, and it's still a draw if everyone's alive. Olivia, you and I have been fighting for months.
I love this fight.
Months.
This is a great fight.
About this topic.
It's a great fight because I'm winning. That's why it's a great fight, because it seems like Blizzard and I have the same opinion on this, being that if you kill one member of the other team, you are closer to winning than if you kill none, and therefore it shouldn't be a tie just because someone manages to kite and heal until the timer runs out. But I know that Mike has a different opinion.
Not entirely. And this is going to ruin all of the fighting that we've ever been doing. Not entirely.
Really?
Not entirely. I'm okay with this solution. I honestly am. I think, do I still feel that if one person can out-heal two people and survive and stay alive, should they be penalized? Should they lose? Yes. But damn it, they don't deserve to get obliterated just because they are the only person who stayed alive. I will continue to support the fact that those players can now troll for 10 minutes or 20 minutes or however long the necessary. Fine, take the points away, end the match, just make it over. But at least you gave that person some fun and they forced it all the way in. Because it's still gonna happen. I promise you it's still going to happen.
It's definitely, I think it's still going to happen, but I think it's going to happen a lot less. I think it's going to be a case of, because they now have nothing at all to gain apart from pissing some people off, that it will not happen anywhere near as much. Like, there'll still be dickheads out there doing it. You know, there's still going to be that guy.
Wait, hold on a sec.
I've been that dickhead. I know. Because I've been that dickhead. But I stood to gain something, and I was doing it. Whereas now, I'll stand to gain absolutely nothing, so I'll be much less inclined to do it. So it's like, you know, why would I... And also, what you've got to remember is, say, for example, this is 2v2. You've got double healer... So two healer DPS teams facing off against each other. And you've got, you know, you've got the situation which you'll inevitably end up with, where you've got one healer DPS team has killed the DPS of the other team, and the healer is kiting them. Not only is that healer wasting the other team, which has two players remaining's time, they're now also wasting their teammates' time for literally no gain whatsoever. Previously, they could have been doing their teammate a favor by drawing out the match, and, like, you know, the teammate goes and gets a cup of tea, and they all lose less rating. Now they're just prolonging a loss and wasting their teammates' time when they could be in another arena, which they might win. But the best part is, to me, that's the big reason why this is a good change.
And I agree with you, because you're right. You're gonna have the teammate who died sitting there and be like, God damn it, stop! Like, just die. And you're like, no, I'm gonna troll. The trolling, the ability. Here's the best part. The ability to troll is still there. You're gonna piss off your own team in the process. The ability to troll and drag it out to the end, just to be like, ha ha ha, you couldn't kill me, and I'm only one person. It's still there. But I can agree with you that ultimately it's got to come to an end at some point. They did lose the 2-on-2 situation. They should stand a reason to lose the match. But ultimately, there's still that, like, there isn't just the, hey, we're gonna buff the other team and ultimately kill you. You still get the trolling satisfaction of ha ha ha, you couldn't kill me. But a lot of people probably won't do it now. I can agree with you.
I still think that sharks with laser beams is the way to go.
Oh my God!
To end this. I am gonna bring that up at BlizzCon to people somewhere, sometime.
Yeah.
So
because I do think it would be cool if, like at the 20-minute mark, instead of ending, the arena just slowly filled with water and sharks fell from the ceiling.
That'd be awesome! Are you kidding me? Sharks with laser beams! Come on!
No one would stay for it. No one would stay there.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, I do think this is a really good change.
So we've been fighting over the crowd chose you and dampening for 2 months, and ultimately it means nothing anymore, is what you're telling me.
I know, it's so sad. Well, actually, we've only been fighting about dampening quite briefly, actually.
I feel like we need like
dampening for 3 weeks.
I feel like we need a Sarah McLachlan musical score underneath montage of like our fighting over the last 2 or 3 months.
So this is the worst. We agree, Mike. This is terrible.
I know.
The show's going to go down the toilet now. Yeah.
You need like people
shots
crying,
of me pointing at Mike and yelling, and him pointing at the camera. And yeah, it's going to be a montage. That's what we need.
Well, people crying, a shot of one of Gary's dogs or something like that, just with sad eyes.
There's nothing. They aren't adding the crowd chose you. They aren't adding dampening. Neither of those systems are
They are adding dampening. They are
dampening.
Dampening is going in as well as the rogue change we had last week. Dampening is in fact already in the game.
It's already a thing.
I just don't like it. I was hoping they would get rid of it.
It's a thing.
Well, I mean, it's sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say they seem to be watching dampening closely, and they're kind of responding to the community's concerns really fast. That's why I was kind of hoping it would just go away. But ultimately, do you think that they're kind of trying to learn from the problems that were caused by the crowd chose you?
Oh yeah, totally. Like I think for starters, it's really good. Like it's really nice for the PvP forums to be like, we've got people talking to us now. There's all this blue text appearing in our forums. We feel so loved and special. And it's just really nice that you feel like they're listening to the community and responding to their concerns really, really quickly. I mean, like the rogue thing, that took like less than a week for someone to come in and be like, right, okay, we've made this change. We're watching it. And then this change, the dampening went in on Tuesday in the US, and this was a thing that came up in the US forums. And basically, they're just like saying, right, this has been in for 2 days. We're already thinking of a hotfix to fix this problem that's come up. We thought that people would be killed. Like we thought that no one would live through a 60% healing debuff. Turns out not. So here's another fix. Like it's really fast, and that's really good. Like one of the big complaints of the PvP community over a long time has been it takes you forever to fix this stuff, and they're not doing that anymore. This is happening really quickly, and it's really, really good.
Let's move on. We got one more topic to get to here with some tweets from Hulinka. But before we do, I want to tell you guys about a sponsor we have here at GameBreaker, also known as Audible. Audible is a great service with hundreds of thousands of hours for you to listen to audiobooks right now. And the best way to use it is doing dailies or when you're questing in the car. But everybody knows those people who think the books are better than the movies. And I know there's justification for that because there's so much more experience that you get in a book. You cannot tell a magnificent 1,000-page book in a movie that's only 2 hours. You just can't get to it all. So why not kind of take the best of both worlds where something's being presented to you, but you're also getting the full experience by using audible.com. They've got amazing selections of movies to kind of choose from. Most importantly, I know a lot of you guys are maybe excited about The Hobbit, which is coming out this Christmas, and they have The Hobbit available right now. You can actually, The Hobbit is a movie that's going to span 3 movies to kind of try and solve this, but in almost the same amount of time, in just 11 hours, you can get the full experience of The Hobbit read to you right now on audible.com. They've got other books. I know they also have Ender's Game, which is a movie that's coming out on November 1st. As well as, if we just go up here to the top.
It's a really good book.
Ender's Game?
Ender's Game is a really good book. I've also got all the follow-ups. I actually got Ender's Game for the plane back from the States, which is very fresh in my memory, considering it was 2 days ago and I'm a little bit jet-lagged. And I just went and got every single follow-up as well, because I was like, oh, Ender's Game, this is a really good book, really enjoyed this. I've got my credits from Audible, so I can get my 1 free book per subscription period. And I just went and spent, I think I spent like 4 credits on Ender's Game follow-up, so I've got them for completely free as well because of the credits you get like 1 per month. So I've got all of these books for nothing. It's really good. I'm excited. I'm going to listen to them on the plane back to America in a week and a half time.
Now, the interesting thing is I even heard from Farhan, and maybe you can tell me, Olivia, did you listen to this special 20th anniversary edition?
I actually, unfortunately, I was in the airport when I saw it, and I thought, I bet that's on Audible, and I couldn't get internet access to download it. It only occurred to me in the airport, so I actually read it, but I did read the 20th anniversary edition, and it is really good. I haven't seen the original 1985 version, so every single one of them is on there.
Something that Farhan was telling me is that, the audiobook specifically that he listened to had a lot of interviews at the end. It had that padding, whereas when he was reading, when you're reading a physical book, the end is coming. But when he was listening to the audiobook, he wasn't expecting the end. He was like, well, still got 2 hours left. And then all of a sudden it ended on him, and he's like, oh, it's the ending. And then they had additional content for him to listen to that were kind of interviews and conversations about the book. So I can't promise that it's on the 20th special edition. However, I'm just trying to say, that's the only version of Ender's Game on
Audible. So I think
it is available.
It's going to be anywhere.
Right.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It is available.
I want that. I might get that one as well for another credit. I've got another one.
We've had Josh Allen in chat tell us that he loves Ender Game. It's his favorite book. Olivia recommended it. Farhan recommends it. So if you guys are a fan of sci-fi fiction, check out Ender's Game. It's available on Audible right now. Let's get to the Hilinka files and get this back to World of Warcraft. Last up this week, there were also some crazy PvP news on the Twitter account from Mr. Brian Hilinka himself. Oh, come on, I hit play.
It's playing.
Oh, is it?
I hear it.
There it is.
I hear it.
Vader needed to be up. Basically, there have been problems with queues for arenas. They're, if most of you don't know, they're really long at the moment. And Blizzard has been looking for a bug that's been causing this. But according to Hilinka, the problem is that it's actually the opposite of what makes queue times long. The problem is that there's too many people queuing up for arena and the system can't actually cope. So what's going on here? Because WoW's dying. As last I heard, WoW subs are out the window. No one's playing it. So how can the system be taxed more than it's ever been if no one's playing?
Well, I personally, I think it comes down to a couple of things. So first up, one thing that I'm still baking cookies as a result of is the cross-realm arenas. So patch 5.4 brought in cross-realm arenas, which just basically frees everyone up to queue and do arenas with whoever they want, as long as it's the same faction. Excuse me. And as well as the removal of teams, which to be honest, I'm actually gutted about. I'm actually really sad about that. And then there's also the region-wide arenas. So you've got a much bigger player pool, whereas previously, I don't know exactly how this worked in the US. I'm new to US servers, but in the EU at least, it was all done by battle group. So the pool of people you were drawing from to make matches was much smaller. So there's an element there of maybe it's a combination of participation increasing because of cross-realm arenas, but also just the sheer quantity of matches being made in one pool is far, far, far larger. And the team removal thing, I don't think that's a thing, but I'm still sad about that. I'm paying myself the world's tiniest violin for the removal of arena teams. Yeah, I think it's to do with the region-wide keys and also the cross-realm arenas, which has to have increased participation.
Now, are you still baking cookies? One just quick clarification. Are you still baking cookies or are you clicking cookies? I'm confused.
Well, apparently, virtual cookies don't count.
Damn it!
So Olivia, is this affecting everyone? A lot of people I know competitively look at 3s and 5s, but is this affecting people who are trying to do 2s as well?
Oh, absolutely. 2s participation. Twos is the most the most played bracket. 2s is how everyone, even if you're a super duper ultra high end player, a 3s player, because that's what the tournaments are in, is 3s. You're still going to do a lot of 2s to cap. You're going to be capping other characters with 2s. It's just quicker and easier to find one other person than it is to find 2 other people. And also, if you're you're going in and you've got your character, which you're okay, now I don't want to sort of mess with this rating too much. It's easier to use at MMR in 2s with one other person who's of the same MMR as you. You don't want to pull your rating around too much, just capping points. And also, like, people who are just getting into PvP, it's way easier to make one friend who does arenas with you and do twos than it is to make two friends and do threes. Like, twos is the most played bracket. I think threes participation is increasing as well, thanks to the rewards that have come in. So there's the mount that you get for winning. I think it's winning 100 3v3 games. You get a mount, or you can do it with RBGs. But I think there's an element there that's sort of helping threes along as well. But twos it's got to be like, I wouldn't like to hazard a guess of how much, like, to what multiple twos is more played than threes, but it's got to be pretty big.
Well, and do we know how fives are doing at all? I mean, is there any kind of report back on how?
They haven't given us any information about splitting out like, there's no publicly available information about splitting out participation numbers. I mean, just like it just, to me, it just seems obvious that twos is going to be by far the most played bracket.
Sure.
Fives, I don't know. I don't know how fives are doing. Like, fives are historically, like, when the tournaments were fives, then it was obviously much more played. But now, like, it's got to have been a decline. I absolutely love 5v5. 5v5 is my favorite arena bracket by a long shot. But it's hard to find 4 other people to do 5v5 with, compared to finding one other person or 2 other people.
And especially now that teams aren't around, right? So now you don't even have a team to, like, say, oh, hey, we're a team and we're doing fives. And now you just kind of go, you guys want to do fives? And then they go,
we're some
no.
Yeah, we're some guys who, like, we don't have the sort of feeling of unity anymore because we don't have a team, so we're just 5 guys who happen to do some fives. Well, I don't know, it's a shame.
And do you think that fives actually runs a risk of maybe kind of going away in the future of WoW because there isn't a team structure to really build off of that?
I don't know. I mean, I think if fives is to go, was to die, then I think it's not just going to be because of the teams. I mean, like, you had that, like, the team thing was so good because you had, like, with fives particularly, the teams worked well because you had the option to have 10 people on your team. So you never had this sort of, oh no, I've only got the option to have 4 people. So you could always have 10 on. So if you had someone who was like, oh no, I'm just really unreliable, you could just boot them. And you'd still be doing fives with, like, 5 of the other, like, of the 9 people on your team then. You'd have 5 around. It did, of course, mean that people weren't free to team hop in 5v5 so much, particularly if they were going for rating. And now with a personal rating system, as long as you're hopping between teams in a sort of intelligent way, then you're still going to be able to maintain a personal rating on several different 5v5 teams. But I do kind of feel like there is an issue there with the teams, particularly for the larger sizes. But again, that just could be me QQing because I miss having arena teams. I miss that feeling of being in a team.
Let's hit up some viewer questions and get the heck out of here because we are over time. So remember, each week we answer your questions live here. So if you guys want to keep an eye out on our Facebook or send them in to submit@gamebreaker.tv, we will answer them each week. So the first question up here is Levi Miller wants to know, with the introduction of Flex, do we need LFR anymore? Yes. Why do people keep asking this? I can see it being useful as a catch-up mechanic in older tiers, but does anyone actually like LFR, or is it a means to an end? I'm just going to say this real quick. Yes, there's a reason for it. There's people out there that have no freaking time in their life, and all they can do is queue for something alone. It does serve a purpose. Not everybody's purpose, and yeah, it's a shitty experience, and there are no tanks queuing up for it, but you know what? There's still some people out there that need the service. You don't like it? Stop using it! All right, I'm done.
Well, here's the real thing. If you're asking that question, my guess is that LFR is not really for you. And if that's the case, that's fine. You don't have to be a part of LFR, and especially for this tier, I think that they're trying to figure out exactly what the role LFR fills for raiders out there. And Mike, I think you're right. Absolutely. This LFR is for people that don't have consistent times that they can go. They feel like they can only queue alone, and so on and so forth. I mean, you can kind of go down the line of they're casual raiders, or maybe they used to raid on a team, and now they're like, oh, I don't have time, but I really like this content. What can I do? So yes, we need LFR. But I think that this is a very interesting time, and we're going to really try. I think Blizzard is really trying to figure out what role LFR is going to fill in the future, but they're still planning on keeping it. So it's going to be around. It's going to be around.
There's no way, in my opinion at least, there's no way at this point that they can pull LFR from the game. Like, I don't see how they can do it. It's such, for those people who, for whatever reason, and there are several good reasons why people are unable to do flex, even through OQ, even through Open Raid, maybe they just don't have the confidence to jump into an organized pug and have people inspect their performance. Like, that's a reason to solo queue, and that content exists for those kinds of people to be able to do raiding without having a spotlight shone in their eyes. I mean, quite apart from the time considerations, quite apart from the convenience of doing a solo queue, quite apart from not needing to, have a guild, have a group of people to go and do stuff with. There's definitely lots of reasons why people need LFR. And also, it's kind of a tricky situation for Blizzard, because it's very easy for them to add content, but it's very, very hard for them to take it away. Because then inevitably, the part of the player base that was using that content is going to feel like their game is being removed. And guess what they're going to not do? Keep subscribing. So there's no way that this is going away. And whether we need it or not, I think that there's still a place for LFR in the game.
Well,
sure.
and especially when you look at WoW, I mean, it's a subscription game, right? So, I mean, we're talking about subscription games have a tendency to cater to the more casual player, because they want some kind of consistent gameplay. They don't want pay to win. They want something where they can work towards a goal and attain it. Hopefully, that's the goal. So with that said, LFR can't go anywhere because they want to retain their subscription base, and I think that's one way to do it. However, Mike, I know you play Alliance, so if you wanna, we can exchange battle tags. We can do something where we can, if you want to join a flex, maybe I can bring you in one night.
All right, I'm down. See how hard that was, people?
Right.
Not that difficult.
How long have we been doing this show
friend.
together? No, how long have we been doing this show together, and it's taken Pat this long to invite you to a flex raid?
I tried to invite him before, but he was resistant.
You know how long it took him to invite me to come on to CTR, and then I just straight up said no. No, Pat Crane.
2.5 years. It took 2.5 years to invite you on.
There you go.
What a jerk.
And of course, you've got as well with the Game Breaker Nation stuff, you've got a ready-made set of people there.
Right.
Like
exactly.
The Game Breaker Nation thing, it's starting to roll out now. The events are starting to come up on the calendar.
But
I've
ultimately,
got to give Missy the European guild because I've got them in my characters and I've forgotten to pass them over.
Ultimately, though, the thing
so
is Flex or LFR is the way for them to design their raids that no one ever saw and let people see the content to the end. Guess what? People who play the game extremely hardcore, the elitists, whatever you want to call me, there are still other people out there. There's still other people out there.
Extremely casual elitist. It's
There's
Mike
still
Sheffield,
other
the extremely casual elitist.
There's still other people out there that wanted to see the end of the Lich King. There's still other people out there that wanted to see Garrosh die. Do I think that they should have to work for it? Absolutely. Does Blizzard? Not really, because they kind of want everybody to play their game and see the content that they're making. So LFR is going nowhere. Let's get to the next question, though, here. Luke Johnson asks a video question, which we also take. So let's see what he had to say.
But seriously, I'm just wondering what kind of stuff you're looking to see out of the next expansion. That's it. Bye!
What stuff? I missed. I didn't realize there was a joke there before, and I think I skipped it by accident.
It was just music.
Oh.
It was music and him smoking a pipe.
Oh,
all right.
Well, I missed that. My apologies.
Lovely.
What do you guys want to see out of the next expansion here? Everybody's saying Nagas and ogres and.
You know what? I don't want to see any new races. I don't care. I'm not interested in new races. I honestly don't give a monkeys. I would love that if they did something with the Pandaren to make them more obviously Horde Alliance, but I have no interest in new races. But then equally, I am not a lore person. So I don't doubt that Missy will flip out and be like, what, Olivia, you're the literal worst person. Right. I hate you. I want new races. I want this, that, and the other. if it was new races, I guess I would say I want the Hildnir and the big sort of Viking ogre dudes and ladies from that would be cool. They would be cool. I would like them. But I don't know. Like I don't really care about a new race. I think a new class maybe, but that would be so like I can't see them doing an expansion without either a new race or a new class. But I kind of feel like we don't need either right now. So it's
I kind of want
maybe a demon hunter.
I kind of want it to be a little bit more simple. I mean, I really don't at this point. You know, I'm kind of like I think a lot of the things have overwhelmed the system. Maybe for World of Warcraft. I mean, we saw like the number squish is coming, and we see all these other things that are coming because I mean the game just can't necessarily handle all of this stuff. You know, like the input lag that we were talking about earlier, and so we're seeing kind of like this drain on the systems. Let's maybe go back to a little simpler time, a little bit simpler, and let's maybe not introduce a new class or a new race. I don't think we necessarily need to, or if we do, also, maybe just a new race.
Yeah, I think a new race would probably be better than a new class. Yeah. Because, like, I mean, and Trekkie points it out in chat as well, and I completely agree with him. Like, we have enough balance issues as it is without introducing another new class, another 6 specs to the list of stuff that Blizzard designers have to balance. So yeah, of the two, I think I'd rather a new race.
Yeah, and out of the races that I've heard so far from people just kind of thinking about stuff, some people have said Hosen and Jinyu.
That would be horrendous.
Those guys have
that
picked
person,
sides.
I don't like you.
Those guys have picked sides, so we might be able to do that. Another one is the Ethereals. That'd be kind of interesting.
They have to be cross-faction, though, and that would suck. They've already said they didn't like how Pandaren were cross-faction. Right. I don't know. I don't like cross-faction race either. I think they should have one and the other.
Maybe Ethereals and Ogres.
Wow, that would be so weird. That would be so weird. Like polar opposite races, like dudes that are made of air and hope. Right. And ogres. But then there's always the female ogre question. And then Missy actually says in chat that there's no lady ethereals either. So, yeah.
I feel like what I want, there are two things that I want out of it. One, I want to stop reinventing the wheel. Stop making me have to learn my class from scratch and every other class. I cannot tell you how much anxiety I've had to deal with in trying to relearn PvP this expansion. It has been a nightmare trying to, like, I used to be really good at PvP. I like to boast about how good I was, Mr. 2200. Not anymore, because everybody's so unpredictable and I don't know what they're doing. So just stop reinventing the wheel. You did it once. You refine it. That's fine, but please don't make me learn everything all over again. I'm just now getting used to all the classes again.
That said, I do kind of want to see, like, you remember the changes that Ghost Crawler was talking about? I can't remember now if it was for 5.3 or 5.4 or even 5.2, but he was talking about taking away blanket silencers and, altering counterspell, like taking away the blanket silence from counterspell, so you actually had to interrupt a spell with it in order to get the blanket silence. And then, but what he said was, that would result in us having to take away a whole ton of instant cast spells as well, because then if you don't have blanket silencers, instant casts are too strong, and then it just gets into a whole mess of stuff. And I think that mess of stuff would be a cool thing to see. Like, I really want, for PvP's sake, less CC, fewer instants, and less instant CC. Like, I think that would be a huge improvement for PvP.
And sharks with laser beams.
Oh my God. All right, next question. Jack Clarkson asks, do you think that there should be more hero classes? Kind of already talked about it. Or should there be hero specs that each class can spec into after a certain period that open your class up to a wide variety of new abilities that replace existing ones? Oh my God, balance.
I like the idea of hero specs. I like the idea of it, but again, it comes down to class balance, and I think that we have enough issues with that as it stands. However, I think that there may be some room for that, because I was looking at, like popularity polls of who's playing what in 5.4, and it always seems like there's usually like one spec that doesn't really perform quite as well as the others for whatever reason. right? I mean, I think right now the only one that's looking fairly even are mages. So mages celebrate all of your specs are fairly popular. But there's always like one spec. Like for hunters, it's marksmanship. All throughout Mists of Pandaria, marksmanship has been awful, or it has not been popular anyway. Let me put it that way. And so we could take one of those specs and then maybe do like a hero spec where it's kind of a combination of different things, but at the same time, yeah, balance.
Yeah.
People. Balance.
And also, like, I don't know, I don't like particularly the notion of hero classes which start like at higher levels, like DKs basically. Like, I feel like if you're going to do it from the start and work through again. I know, I just like, it's always felt a bit out of place to me to have DKs there. But then, you know, is leveling really fun anymore? Was it ever fun?
Oh, Liv. Oh.
So, like, you know, maybe, oh God, I don't know. But like maybe a hero class that starts, but they can't do a hero class that starts at like 85 or something. That would just be ridiculous. Like you'd be like, yeah. So at 86, 87, 88, and 89, you get all this crap. Have fun learning how to play.
Yeah, I think they need to make every. I think they need to make every class a hero class after you get your first.
After you get
one. After you get your first one up to cap, then all the rest of them start at like level
free.
80. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, actually, that'd be
awesome.
really nice. That would be really nice.
Olivia Grace, you can follow her right down there at Olivia D. Grace. Be sure to catch her all over the place. WoW Insider, Zam here, as well as BlizzCon in 2 weeks. Squeak!
Oh my God, yes, I'm excited.
There goes his voice again!
Pat Crane, you can follow him right down there at Pat Crane. Be sure to catch him on Convert to Raid and in 2 weeks at BlizzCon!
BlizzCon! Oh my God!
You guys can follow me right down here at Mike Schaffner. Be sure to catch me all over Game Breaker TV and in 2 weeks at BlizzCon!
That's crazy!
Thank you guys so much for watching Legendary, your World of Warcraft recap show. It goes live every Thursday at 8 p.m. PST. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you at 2 weeks in BlizzCon.